President Trump raging against Democrats and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi after she accused his administration of engaging in a, quote, criminal cover-up. Pelosi's attack coming in response to Trump saying he'd be open to hearing dirt on his 2020 opponent from a foreign government. The president clarifying those comments earlier today.
If I was, and of course you have to look at it, because if you don't look at it, you're not going to know if it's bad. Of course you'd give it to the FBI or report it to the Attorney General or somebody like that. But of course you do that. You couldn't have that happen with our country. If I thought anything was incorrect or badly stated, I'd report it to the Attorney General, the FBI. I'd report it to law enforcement. Absolutely.
Trump coming out, swinging against Pelosi's absurd accusation and pointing the finger back at the speaker and her own party.
This is probably the worst, or certainly one of the worst political scandals in the history of our country. They spied on the opposing party's campaign using the intelligence apparatus of the United States. It's a fascist statement. It's a disgraceful statement. I call her Nervous Nancy. She's a nervous wreck. If you look at what happened, Hillary Clinton, with the money that ultimately went to Russia for the fake dossier, that total fake pile of stuff, the amount of money that was paid, and it was paid by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, and it went to Russia. That's the criminal.
He also blasted the ongoing congressional investigations into the Mueller report, calling them unfair.
Isn't it amazing that constantly, every day, somebody gets a letter, come into Congress, because, you know, it's like death through 1,000 wounds. And I will tell you, it's so unfair what they're doing, and I really think that people are wise to it.
Seems like we always come back, Dana, to Trump and nervous Nancy Pelosi.
It's a showdown.
A showdown.
Right to the finish.
Again on a Friday. Criminal cover-up now, I guess, is the latest.
I would say to the Democrats, you know, you're going to have to put up some proof soon if you're going to keep doing this, because they've already done the Mueller report. I don't see how they come up with something else that is going to change people's minds. I don't. I'd be willing to look at it. Like foreign intelligence. I'll look at it. Maybe I'll have to report it to the FBI. But honestly, when you have people who will whisper in your ear like, oh, yeah, there really is something, and then there's never anything, it does get very tiresome. I can understand why he's frustrated about it. The difficult thing is he feels like he has to continue to be on offense because he doesn't want to be on defense about it. But that means that it's to the exclusion of everything else.
Right.
You can't talk about the economy. You can't run on the economy if the Democrats have figured out they can make him talk about this every single day and make this the story. Maybe they think that helps them, but it doesn't help me.
Yeah, because he had an excellent event the other day with Kim Kardashian and Sarah Sanders.
Why are you laughing? It's a great.
I mean, if she was there at the Obama White House, we'd be reading story after story about how an amazing event this was.
No, I would
was buried.
You know what
today.
I would do? I would tune in on the weekend to Waters World, and he would mock Obama for having another reality show being so superficial. Am I doing it, Jesse?
That's not bad.
All right, thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right, so, you know, we're back to where we were yesterday.
Oh, no,
a hypothetical scandal.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
What's new?
Yesterday I said to you, this guy just did something that was basically telling the American people, you know what, doesn't matter if I cheat to get reelected, I'm going to do something illegal. You said, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true.
That's not what he said.
And then today, he backpedaled. Now I'm thinking to myself, if he acknowledged that he said something that was wrong, and says to the American people, you know, of course I would tell the FBI. Of course I wouldn't take dirt on my opponent from. I'm thinking, Jesse must think, yeah, I guess Juan was right.
I never think that, because that's never happened. I think you said the other day I'd listen, and maybe I'd give it to the FBI.
Look,
but you still have not been able to answer the fact that Hillary paid for the foreign bill.
Oh, here we go.
And Trump never paid for anything, never got anything.
This is so
Hillary
ridiculous.
got it and paid for it.
You know why I like sitting next to you?
Why?
Because whataboutism is so obvious to the audience.
It's called context, Juan.
You don't want to talk about.
It's called context.
You don't want to talk about what's going on.
I have to do that because you don't acknowledge the other side. Kennedy.
I will acknowledge both sides.
Please.
I think it was a really foolish thing that the president said.
Yes.
And I don't think think anyone should go out of their way to try and justify his remarks to George Stephanopoulos. I think he did enough damage to himself in this realm, and he needs to absolutely drop it. And what he said today, he should have said in that interview. But also, it's not whataboutism. You know, your issue is with the means and not the end. And it should be with the end. So if the ultimate problem that we have is Russian operatives are trying to infiltrate campaigns in order to affect the outcome of elections, we should have a problem with that. But now people are, like Andy McCabe, he's just worried about the means because he doesn't have a problem with intelligence laundering, which I think is incredibly problematic because it went through a law firm and the DNC.
Yes.
And then
amazing
a
quote.
British operative. Like, that's okay, even though they paid millions of dollars to the same compromised people who were doing the exact same thing, who, you know, the only difference is they got enriched in the process. Those are the same people that Robert Mueller had an issue with. And the other thing about Nancy Pelosi...
Well, let me respond to that.
Well, no, I want to get to Nancy
go
Pelosi,
ahead.
and then
Go
so
ahead.
you got to keep a little list.
All right.
The other thing about Nancy Pelosi is with Robert Mueller, she's basically saying that he did a horrible job. And if this is a criminal cover-up, and what the president said rises to the level of impeachment, that's basically saying that Robert Mueller is incompetent.
No, both sides. In fact, didn't Bill Barr say he expected that Robert Mueller would come to a conclusion, especially in obstruction, and he's disappointed that he didn't? He's saying the same thing that Pelosi said.
No, he could have used much more forceful language.
All right, one of the funniest things about the interview, Nervous Nancy. She's a nervous wreck. He is going to stick with this name, and he is going to beat that drum for the rest of the term.
Yeah, he likes Nervous Nancy. Although, I mean, she's not running against him. The important nicknames are the ones he's going to be running against, I think. But I agree. That quote by McCabe is amazing. And this is why it's good that Trump is doing his own fighting. He gets out on these talk shows, and he keeps saying, this is the biggest criminal conspiracy ever against my presidency. And everyone says, what a crazy person. It's conspiracy theorists. Andrew McCabe, what he said was something a right-wing talk show host would say. He said, for a campaign to hire a law firm, an American law firm, and turns around and hires another American research company who contracts out with a foreign individual. This is Andy McCabe. And he says, that's not illegal. That's fine. That's just the swamp at work. It's unbelievable. They're all admitting to what happened, but they're saying, no, that's the way we do it in Washington.
I can't believe the media can talk about this pseudo scandal with a hypothetical thing that Trump said or he didn't say or he would say or he wouldn't do. And you literally have Hillary Clinton moving $9 million to the DNC, to the law firm, to the foreign national from the UK, who gets all of the dirt from Russian political operatives, Russian intelligence officials, and Russian government officials.
Excuse me, can I...
So that is literally paying for foreign dirt, and the media is not even talking about that.
I wonder why. But maybe your fever dream has
Why
a little...
do you think they're not?
Because you're having a fever dream. And let me just tell you, there's a key point.
What's the key point?
Oh, even with the Steele dossier that you guys are fixated on, guess what he did? He reported it to the FBI.
Who did?
Oh, Steele.
No, he did this. Look, he took it and he gave it to Bruce Orr at the State Department.
Oh, what is that?
And then what did he do it? What did he do it?
Yeah.
Because Bruce Orr's wife worked for Fusion GPS.
So in other words, you just said what I told you was true.
Through the administration.
He gave it to the government, Jesse.
Oh, was he giving it to the government for what reason, Juan?
Because he was
because he wanted to wiretap the president.
No, because he said it's alarming that the
Russians
may be
He
influencing...
paid Russians to tell him lies about Trump.
No.
And then he gave it to the government and said, hey, guys, Trump did some nasty stuff in a hotel. You might want to look into that. And even the government said, this doesn't seem right.
Let's keep your sex life out of this. I am saying to you that what we've got here is the President of the United States saying he would take dirt from a foreign power. You guys are saying, oh, Hillary did the same thing. Of course not. We've got opposition research in American campaigns.
Not only did she take it, she paid for it.
Yeah, and doesn't it
so
make
did
the
a
president
conservative newspaper that first paid
doesn't it just go to show that the president is a little bit more frugal? If he's taking it from us, and Hillary Clinton has to wait for
That's right. And dirt's expensive, especially the foreign stuff.
Yeah.